Crossing the Golden Gate Bridge now costs $18. Of course, the rental car company charges another fee on top of that. You can bicycle or walk across the Golden Gate Bridge. You can no longer jump off to your death. They installed a net to catch you. Then you pay a fine. We went out of our way to cross this famous bridge on our way to Napa. We arrived in Napa about sunset Friday evening. We stayed in an old world inn, Hotel Napa Valley, just a couple blocks from the site of our first house where the fire station is now. I wanted to do my morning runs through our old neighborhoods and bring back some pictures. Those were the two easiest and most interesting runs of my life. This is taken from the vantage point of the Safeway grocery store toward the corner where our house on Seminary Street once stood. Safeway is no longer there. And here is the Napa Fire Department building, which was built while we watched, just outside our house window. This was our church, 1959 to 1966, Grace Baptist. It is now Napa Valley Bible Chapel. Notice the tree, the big rock, and the island in front of the church. We used to play there after services. Now it has flowers instead of grass. Here is the intersection where Dennis and I chased a classmate of mine into the street where he was hit by a car. I can still visualize Bruce flying through the air, leaving his eyeglasses and shoes behind. He missed a couple days of school and was pretty banged up. He could have turned the corner. We meant him no harm for his taunting, at least not that much harm. No witnesses were questioned by police even though we were there. Ah, Fuller Park. This is the entrance into the park we use from both our houses in Napa, the Seminary and Oak Street intersection. Because of the trees, the park is very familiar even after all these years. I remember jumping off the roof of this park building with friends, and maybe Dennis? This is the Fuller Park main entrance on the corner of Jefferson and Oak Street. The sign has a tree map. Trees from all over the world were planted and grow well in Napa. Recognize this intersection? Franklin and Oak Street? 1344 Oak Street is the next house in from this corner. Here it is. I think the siding was pink with white pillars when we lived here. It has certainly been well kept, though the bushes could use a trim. The holly bush is still there by the front door. The distinctive house across the street. A nice house on the way down Oak Street toward the river. For the most part, the houses and yards in this area of Napa are nice. Some of them spectacular even. The Napa River at low tide. I have many memories along this river. Crossing it on the 3rd Street Bridge 5 days a week on my paper route. The mud, how it looks after a couple days of steady rain. Trapping fish in low tide pools. Borrowing rafts and boats. Seagulls stealing our bait while casting for fish. Venturing into storm sewers from the roller skating rink area into the river. Good thing our parents didn't know what we were doing. We had lots of unsupervised playtime in those days. I wasn't by myself on these adventures. Redwood trees along the sidewalk on the way to Shearer Elementary School. Now it's time to show Jan the park where I spent much of my childhood. There is a nice rose garden between the playground in the center of the park and the restrooms. The Napa Gardening Club keeps the roses in bloom. It might have been there back in the day too, not sure. We had a perfect morning to be at the park. We came back in the afternoon for lunch. No wonder I remember this big park so fondly. The variety of trees, the grass, the playground, the picnic areas, the sun, the shade, the paths, and the houses that surround it. What a great park. And we lived only 3 short blocks away. Remember the recreation programs and the endless hours of croquet and horseshoes? The park was very busy on this Saturday, June 17th, 2023. Showing Jan the house at 1344 Oak Street. Jan and our kids saw it during our 1985 trip to California as well. They rebuilt our elementary school in the same location. They even rearranged the playfields where we played ball. The old building was more impressive in my memory. Napa High School. Alan attended here for 10th and 11th grade. It is 1.5 miles from 1344 Oak Street. Did Alan walk? The swimming pool with the low and high diving boards, where we often swam in the summer, used to be between where I am standing in the picture and the main entrance. This building and grounds are quite impressive. It has over 1,800 students in grades 9 through 12 these days. No Chick's Hamburger restaurant across the street anymore. However, there is still a bakery selling donuts on our walk home from the pool, but not for 6 cents a piece anymore. Here is the school, partially rebuilt, where I attended 7th and 8th grades, Ridgeview Junior High back then. We walked the 1.2 miles to school. It is now River Middle School for 6th to 8th grades. I didn't see any sign of the school pool where Dennis, I, and a couple friends sneaked in one middle of the night, climbed the high barbed wire top fence, and went for a daring swim. Fortunately, we didn't get caught. This is Old Sonoma Road, which goes along Ridgeview Junior High. We sometimes rode our bicycles down that long hill you see in the distance. The Williams triplets and twins from church lived in a country home with a big pond beyond the top of the hill, if I remember correctly. Here is the Napa River looking good at high tide. We stopped again to take another picture of our church in Napa. The Roy Nicholson family certainly spent a lot of time there in those days. Didn't hardly miss any of the 3 times a week services. I especially remember great Sunday evening song services and occasional special music with the triplets Terry and Larry playing trumpets with Mary Lee on the piano. I accepted Christ as Savior in this church. The white Hyundai was our rental car this trip. Here again is the tree, the rock, and the island where we played as kids with our church friends. Napa City Hall is still on the same block as the police station and the fire station, and our former first home on Seminary Street. The City Hall ramp was good for testing our primitive skateboards. The police station seems to be quite different than I remember, but it is still in the same location. The fire station is about the same as I remember it. The former fire station was across from the church when we lived in our first house. The fireman's Christmas snowman could talk to us. The Uptown Theater on 3rd Street looks unchanged from 57 years ago. I went to my first theater movie there once and watched the 1961 movie Lover Come Back. Somebody went with me, I don't remember who. We certainly did not have permission to go. I only went that one time. There is still a hamburger restaurant across the street and a bit from the uptown. We drove the car on my 2 paper routes, one near the fairgrounds and surrounding area, and my first route in the hills beyond the Silverado Trail. There are some spectacular homes on the near side and the other side of the hill, which is now very well developed. The fairgrounds entrance is different, as you can see here. We went to the Napa Walmart and picked up a deli sandwich and a salad and ate back at Fuller Park. The weather was so perfect. Here is the Seminary and Oak Street entrance to the park again. The park was also a popular place for couples to park at night. As a 6th grader, I was on the school crossing safety patrol and could stop traffic for students. This is one of the intersections I was assigned to. I remember seeing a couple ball games at Kiwanis Park, which is several blocks from our house and is still in great shape. As kids, we walked along Franklin and turned on Pine Street to get to Shearer Elementary School. The redwood trees on this block on Franklin on our way to school are numerous and gigantic. The Holden Mansion was also on our short walk to school. Our nearby thrift shop is looking good in the same building and location it always was. I passed by the Napa County Administration Building on both my paper routes. I also crossed the 3rd Street Bridge over the Napa River frequently. This is a view to the business part of 1st Street from the 1st Street Bridge over the river. The businesses on 1st Street are almost all different now, but thriving. The Napa River looking north from the 1st Street Bridge. Here is a view of Seminary Street at the location I was hit by a car and broke my ankle and Donnie's Stingray bicycle. Sorry, Don. My younger Mexican friend Pete Bedolla was with me. I was on my way to a doctor appointment for my ingrown toenail when I was 13. I was rolled into the ambulance on a stretcher and was greeted by a bloody beatnik who had gone through a windshield in a car accident and was also on his way to the hospital. Then they shut the tailgate on my injured ankle. Bad day. Sunday, 11:15 a.m., time for Bible hour in our old church. We arrived 10 minutes early and received a friendly welcome by the preacher and half a dozen early arrivers, who especially got excited when I told them I attended Grace Baptist there from 1959 to 1966. The inside of the building was very familiar to me. The pews, the stained glass windows, the woodwork, the organ, and the organ pipes high on the wall in the front, the pulpit stage, the piano, the balcony, just about everything was as it was 57 years ago. The pulpit was not the same and was on the right of the stage instead of the center. And the people were different, all except one of them, Libby Rose, 96 years old, and one of my mom's best friends from church. We had a very sweet visit with her after the service, talking about Mom, pastors, members and friends from those old times. We talked for at least 20 minutes in and outside the church. The service was excellent with familiar songs and a biblical message. What a blessing. As kids, we walked or biked wherever we went in Napa and got a good detailed look at houses, hedges, trees, businesses, government buildings, schools, ball fields, bridges, churches, the river, the roller rink, the high school, swimming pool, and so on. It was thrilling to see the same old places and things, and was also interesting to see the changes in Napa. It is a nice city, and was a great place to grow up in. Napa is a popular destination and is doing well.